we're not going to eliminate, we're not going to be able to extinguish some of the bad behavior on social media, but we can build relationships where students feel comfortable coming to us first to help us deal with those issues and situations, which is what we try to build here in our district. Sometimes we're successful and other times we do fall back on that reactive stance. But we tried again, relationships work, continue just to empower students to really come to you. That seems to be successful for us.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Joseph Jones, Superintendent of Newcastle County Vocational Technical School District. We're roughly about 4,800 students. We are a vocational technical, so only high school, only career and technical education. And we are located in Newcastle County, Delaware, and we cover the entire county.
Hi, my name is Ben Shuldiner. I'm the superintendent of the Lansing School District here in the glorious capital of Michigan. We have about 10,000 students across 26 schools, and it's a wonderful school district.
My name is Ashley Smith. I'm the Executive Director of 21st Century Learning for Lucia Mar Unified School District, which is located in the Pismo Beach area, so the central coast of California. We have 19 schools and about 10,000 students.
My first question for you is, how has the prevalence of technology in the classroom impacted student learning and engagement?
It's a great question. I think for us, and right now everyone is talking about things like Chat GPT and just how, wonderful or, depending on who you ask, potentially not wonderful, that type of technology is. But when we think about technology, especially being a career and technical district, we want to think about how can we use this most effectively. So we have digital media career programs that those students run podcasts, they run websites, they learn all types of different platforms. So we try to embrace technology as much as possible. We have students that are active on different social media sites. Like a lot of school districts, we're active within our community on platforms for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn to a smaller extent. TikTok, we were starting to get there. Then, there's been some issues around that. So we use social media, that piece of technology, very much in a sense to communicate with our community, communicate with our students. But then there's a whole host of other technology that's often not mentioned. We're a one-to-one school district. We have been for years. That's a powerful tool for us. Our state has a platform that we use, Schoology. So we learned out of COVID that we can still do a lot of different things remotely. So we still in our district have asynchronous days built in throughout the school year. So we use technology in that capacity. We use that in a sense that our students can learn asynchronously. Our teachers will provide them work throughout the day, but it also allows for a lot of team time within our schools. And we found that's coming out of the pandemic, there's just needs. So the more our staff can get together, work together, be a part of one another, end silos has been better for us. And then just lastly, there's also just instructional technology. Anything we can do to enhance the students' learning experience, from a smart board to maybe something else, whatever that helps us engage students, create a dynamic classroom. So we try to always look through a lens of how will this benefit us and our school community, and most importantly, our students.
Well, I mean, I can say both positively and negatively, right? Technology, just like a knife, can be both very good or very dangerous. And so what we've been able to see in our classrooms is the use of engagement through technology. We're actually a 2-for-1 district, which is kind of amazing. So every kid gets a laptop in school and at home because we were virtual for more than a year during the pandemic. We really got used to using things like Google Classrooms, and we've been able to use all sorts of technologies to really, I think, engage students. But we also certainly believe that sometimes the best thing is to go into the woods, and we own a 200-acre education facility literally in the woods about an hour from here, and sending kids there and shutting off all the technology is pretty awesome too. Your question was specifically about social media, which I think is super helpful. Again, it's about engagement, right? How do you get kids and families to know about events, to come towards learning, to be part of whatever programs it is that we're creating? But as I think every superintendent will tell you, they hate Facebook. And they hate Facebook and all sorts of the other social medias because, kids and parents and adults and everybody else can use it to basically throw out vitriol and anger towards the world and come back and be able to not suffer the slings and arrows because they can hide behind names or filters or other things like that. And so where I think the social media companies have really fallen is the ability to allow the schools, the superintendents, the parents, the districts, whatever, to be able to modify and adjust what's out there in the public.
Yeah, the impact of student devices in the classroom has really changed, and even since I've been in this role for the last 5 years. It used to be something we were working towards, where we had Chromebook carts moving around, and it was like, oh, you get to do a Chromebook lesson if you check out the cart and we move it into your classroom. And though we were already working towards that, COVID really changed it. And now student devices and student technology is just an expectation, and teachers plan for it. And now it's almost the opposite, and they're finding things to do to engage students that doesn't involve technology to try to have that screen time balance in their rooms.
How can school districts deal with social media issues that might originate on social media apps and create a problem on campus, whether it's the next day or Monday morning?
So school districts can manage a lot what happens on social media in a negative way by really discussing it, doing case studies. I think we can all create policies and procedures that can help our best manage those things, but it is really the connection with students. So as much as possible, whatever you can do as a school district to create really the ability to connect with your students, troll social media to some degree, see what's going on in the community, watch out for things in the community, build a relationship where parents feel comfortable calling the school, others feel comfortable calling the school, because in some ways, social media has been very powerful for us, and we can reach, the far ends of our district and really the community and beyond. But there are times where it's used for wrongdoing, and students will post things about other students, that can lead to very harmful situations. But I think anything that is policy driven is reactive. When you're connecting with your students and they have touch points with adults, that's where you're becoming proactive. We're not going to eliminate, we're not going to be able to extinguish some of the bad behavior on social media, but we can build relationships where students feel comfortable coming to us first to help us deal with those issues and situations, which is what we try to build here in our district. Sometimes we're successful, and other times we do fall back on that reactive stance. But we tried again, relationships work, continue just to empower students to really come to you. That seems to be successful for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it really comes down to relationships. And so if you know your kids and you know what's going on, you'll actually know what happened in the chat room or in the text or in the WhatsApp chain almost immediately, because kids are pretty great about telling folks about this stuff if you have a great relationship. Certainly, the first and foremost is just having policies about the use of social media, but that only goes so far. What you really need to be able to do is be able to know what's going on and be able to see the signs and be able to know, a lot of our kids have their families as part of their, social media world. And what's nice about Lansing is we all kind of know each other. So, if you're connected to somebody on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, and then you see this kind of stuff pop off, you can start to address this much earlier. And, for us, all of our schools are a single point of entry. So there's adults, usually a principal or an assistant principal, greeting kids at the door every day. That way you can kind of get a sense of, something might be wrong. I mean, no joke. I was a principal in Brooklyn for a decade, and, you knew when a kid was coming to fight. They would make sure to take off their earrings or to take off their rings or to make sure that they had certain things that you're like, okay. And then you have those relationships with those kids, and then you can deal with it. So, in some respects, it's a very low tech answer, which is you need to know your kids. And in some respects, it's a high tech answer with knowing, what's being said in that public sector sphere, because you are either a friend of or connected to those accounts.
I mean, that's always tricky. Social media, especially when we get into the secondary schools, is prevalent. Like it's happening all the time. So trying to stay ahead of it, if possible, educating kids, talking to them about the decisions and trying to just squash anything before it leaves the school and explodes overnight and comes back is always a priority.
Can you provide some examples of how your students have used their social media in a positive or productive way that may have benefited themselves, their community, or their future college plans?
So our students use social media to advance themselves in different ways. So one major thing that we've done really since the murder of George Floyd has been focused on amplifying student voice. And they have used various platforms to do that. What I would like to think is that we've created a space and opportunities for them to participate. And so we have like the Martin Luther King essay contest. So we built the opportunity for our students to participate in that contest through our student organization that we call Forever a Movement, the FAM. And so we wanted them to participate. We wanted them to understand the power behind Martin Luther King's message, the power with these type of essay contests. But all of that was recorded. All of that is on social media. All of that information production, students can take to a whole nother level. And so when we had our day in which they spoke and they were able to talk to us, we were able to push that out far and wide. And that's a big part of what we're looking to do with our students. Then internally in some of our classrooms, for sure, when we're thinking of like speaking and listening standards, that's not just old school speaking and listening. It's recording students, giving them the opportunity to speak on subjects. And that could be through a recorded video message. So that's work for us. And I think students just are really prone to doing that. TikTok, Instagram, that really revolutionized how students just view media in general, going from like a static post or a static pic to really doing videos and expressing themselves through video. So as much, and listen, we're far from perfect at this and we're working on it. I don't want to come off as if we have the golden answer. But I will say we try to embed content standards in the classroom that give students the opportunity in different ways to use mediums they're very comfortable with to express themselves and differentiate instruction through those measures and means.
There's so many ways of answering this. So many of our kids just take pictures at wonderful events when our wrestling team wins a division title, or actually, I think one of our esports teams is making it to the playoffs this year, which is the first for a lot of reasons for that. But then it's also, we have a wonderful CTE program where kids can not only learn building trades, but become a firefighter, things like that. But one of the great programs that our kids love is our design and tech program. And so kids are actually making their own clothing and they're selling their clothing and they're being entrepreneurs. Well, they use social media to expand their network so that they can actually get people to buy their stuff, which is pretty great. Social media, like all technology, can be a good if used well. What we're really proud of is that we have a weekly newsletter, and in every weekly newsletter, we highlight one student that's doing great work, and that comes and becomes part of our social media campaign as well. We also highlight a teacher, and then they get a bunch of stuff from us as well. But I think, again, learning that technology can be incredibly powerful if put in the right direction, if harnessed right. And, what better use than using kids who know the technology and are kind of more native to that than having learned it as older folks. So, we really ask our students to engage with us. Which is terrific. Another thing that we're doing is we're bringing in a survey for parents, kids, and teachers. They'll be able to do that, certainly not through social media, but through the internet. And then those responses will be shared through social media, and kids will be able to participate in that as well.
Yeah, we had kids do some really crafty stuff on there, like student body campaigns were just happening. And, it used to be just like making the poster and, vote for me and it's hanging in the walls. And now the kids for student government typically do these campaigns on social media and they have a site and they're getting likes and generating things in that way, and really exposing themselves positively. They do fun things like, promposals, and then we'll have an assembly and like do something, get free prom tickets for the one that got the most interest. They also do really great things like private GoFundMe pages when we have accidents or kids that experience unfortunate circumstances. So we've seen some really positive things come out of it as well.
Terrific. In an age of one-to-one, how are you or your district preparing students for positive technology use in the classroom?
In the age of one-to-one, preparing students for positive technology use, this was far more of an issue when we first started with one-to-one. I think now our students are so used to working on computers, and our devices have other things associated, apps associated with that also trigger if they're doing something wrong. So at first, when we started going one-to-one, we had a lot of issues like everyone else, students going off site, they shouldn't be visiting certain pages, we'd get alerts. They now know, and I don't know if it's just that they're behaving more on school campus, but when they take their device home, all of those products follow them as well, to the extent that even if they search something that could be harmful to them, we get alerted. And so that them knowing that there's someone always kind of watching or there's something behind the computer that would alert us to negative behavior, this is even if they're struggling with something, going back to the social media posts, if somebody posts something about them that starts them to think like, with very negative thoughts, maybe even harming themselves, if they look that up on their device, we get alerted immediately. Those type of programs, I think, have really curtailed students' behavior on different devices. I'll also say what has helped though with the one-to-one. When we first went one-to-one, that one-to-one served a purpose very similar to a textbook. So if you're familiar, if those listening are familiar with the SAMR model, we were supplementing most things. We've gotten significantly better at making our devices rich in the sense that what we're asking students to do with them is just superior. So they're not just now reading on a computer versus them reading on a textbook. And we were doing a lot of that supplementation in the beginning. We've gotten past that. I think that's helped with the sophistication, students seeing the devices in a different way, beyond gaming, beyond just as a supplemental tool. And now when we're using, Schoology, and all of our lesson plans are on Schoology and kids can access that. The grade books are on eSchool. They're seeing this tool as a very powerful mechanism to complete work, upload work, and they're not really living in their own social world of like they would within an iPhone. They're seeing the business side of the device, which I think has helped. But no doubt in the beginning, we had issues, especially with them using it as they would a personal tool. Thankfully, that's gotten a lot better. And just on a side note, other things have helped us immensely. Things like e-hall pass. When our students leave the room, it's an electronic hall pass. Our monitors in the halls have iPads. They know if the student's supposed to be out of class, when they left class, what class they left from. So it's a little big brother, but they see really the power of these tools in different ways.
It's a great question. And, what's kind of wonderful about our district is we're actually 2-for-1, where we have every child in the school has a laptop, and then every child has a laptop at home, or at least has the ability to have a laptop at home. Because of COVID, we were able to really pivot and go online, and we wanted to make sure that our kids understood how to use the software, understood that technology can be a good. So how do we do that? Certainly, we believe that online instruction really should be screen to screen. Asynchronous learning is okay for some, but it's much better when you have that teacher in front of you and is in real time. And then that teacher can walk the individual children through how to use the software and use the technology. I think what happens is, even though we think kids know technology, they don't necessarily know Google Classroom, or they don't know necessarily how to use whatever software the teachers are using. So when we were online, and now, when we have to go online, if it's virtual for some reason, by making sure that we have that kind of screen to screen, that teacher to kid, you're able to walk them through. Now, of course, we do stuff within the classrooms too, where you take out the laptops and they learn computer skills and things like that. And that's just the basic. What's one nice thing is we actually have a full online K-12 school, and that school has really done very well lately. And again, it's not asynchronous, it's synchronous learning. And kids, what's so cool about that school is, if they want to, even though it's an online high school, they can actually come to the building and be with teachers and be with mentors and be with support folks, because just because you're using a computer doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need that relationship. So what a school district, and what we do, and what I certainly advocate for, is, yes, kids are really great at technology, but you still have to teach them how to use it. Especially, you want to teach them how to use it the way you want them to use it. And when you spend time in classrooms as well as online, you just build that structure so that every year you're strengthening it. You're using the same software and the same technology, so kids get used to it. And we find that our kids are doing pretty well on it.
So we've worked a lot on this. And like I was explaining before, when it went from like the carts to a Chromebook lesson sometimes to it just being the expectation, we really work with our kids, depending on the age levels, to use and embed the ISTE standards for teaching and learning in instruction, and really worked hard with our teachers to have them understand that kids aren't the tech experts that they think that they are. They know how to use technology for social media implications and to play games and to have fun. And they're experts at TikTok per se, but maybe not Google Slides. And some of them have never been in an email account in their life. So really trying to teach those core concepts, to teach them how to use technology for learning, not just for the social aspects that they're considered to be the experts in.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment, where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media, so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter, and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.